pretty much wanted to delve right into this. You have to kind of excuse how tired I look. I've been at work all morning, and the first time I recorded this, none of the audio recorded. So, or it was really chopping up. So I'm just going to do pretty much a straight shoot. Hopefully, this comes out better than the first round. Um, anyway, so just to start off with the whole Boruto thing, the anime. I'm not speaking about the manga because I'm not sure too many people keep up with that. I kind of wanted to elaborate on why I don't like it. I've done that a few times. I've done a recent one. It was probably earlier this year, 2019. But a lot of my other points of why I don't like it were probably from early 2017 and then all throughout 2018. My opinions, for the most part, haven't really changed. Now that there's more content out, more episodes, and more chapters, I still kind of have the same opinion. I still have disdain towards it. I still really do not like the show. I really still hate that I don't like the show either. Normally, for me, it doesn't take very many episodes for something to come around. Like, I eventually either start liking it, I lose interest in hating it, or it does a massive jump and I end up liking it. And but as for Boruto, nothing's changed. I still don't like it at all. And this video is going to be more of why. So just to start off, so you guys have some background, I actually didn't grow up watching Naruto. I grew up on Inuyasha, on Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Yu Yu Hakusho, Shaman King. Man, there's so many. The Gundam series, but the very early ones, like the ones that probably nobody speaks about anymore. Except for like if they're mentioning classical animes, Gurren Lagann, Black Lagoon is another. So a lot of the older style animes, and that just has to do with my age. You know, I'm 23 years old as of 2019, so it has everything to do with that. Really, it's not because that type of stuff was my genre. I just grew up with it. So when it comes to Naruto, that wasn't my very first anime. In fact, I have a lot more first animes that I have more of an impact with than with Naruto. So a pretty cool memory that I do have in Naruto though is that, so I remember being in a hotel with my parents, and we only had one TV, and it was a very small room with my little brother. We were just trying to find something to watch. My brother didn't really have a say. My mom didn't really care, and my dad also didn't care. I was flipping through the channels, and I came across Naruto, and I was like, this is different. This is pretty cool. So, the episode that was on was the episode that Sakura cut her hair, or well, they were in the Forest of Death, and Sakura cut her hair, and she was defending Naruto and Sasuke. And I just remember thinking, this is actually pretty interesting. I think I want to keep up with this. So when I got home later that week, after the vacation was over, I wanted to catch up on what that anime was. I found out what it was, and after that, I started watching it. And the rest is history from there. But just so that you guys understand, when I was watching anime growing up, Inuyasha would come on at like 4 o'clock in the morning because it was on Adult Swim. And a lot of the animes that a lot of people grew up with were on this show called Toonami. Toonami was airing usually before the 10 o'clock range. My bedtime was 9. But a lot of the animes that were on just didn't really have my interest. And Naruto fell in between the blocks, but I just never caught it because I was never interested in watching it. I didn't know what it was. Not interested. I wanted to see Inuyasha. So I would, go to bed at 9, and I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure I got to see my show of Inuyasha. And then I would go back to bed and wake back up at 6 for school. This continued for at least a year. And I really enjoyed that schedule of my life. It didn't really bother me too much, and I was a child. I hate sleeping. But anyway, so yeah, just so you guys know where I come from with that. And then also just with Naruto's whole debut in America, it came during a time period that we really didn't have what Naruto bring. So Naruto also is in a generation of Dragon Ball because it came after, and One Piece and Bleach. The thing is with Bleach, it was not aimed at an audience for children. If you guys are familiar with like the very beginning of it, I know that it seems kind of children friendly, but it really isn't. It's kind of more edgier. At least that's what I would say now, being older, and I watch it and I'm like, this is really actually a lot more adult than what it would seem. Naruto, on the other hand, was very kid friendly. It was something you can just sit down and just kind of watch, and your brain can be turned off for. as a kid growing up watching that type of stuff, you don't really think too much. You don't really have any expectations, and that type of thing is really cool when it comes to when you just want to sit down and watch something. You don't have to think about, oh, all this illogical shit going on. It's not that deep. Just a show that you're watching for entertainment. So with that being said, the bar for Naruto was pretty low. We didn't really have any high expectations. All we knew was that it was cool. It was something different. It wasn't looking like One Piece or like Dragon Ball, which, if you guys are familiar, they're both done by Toei Animation. And Toei Animation has a very unique art style, and it's not that appealing. At least not to me. I can't speak for everybody. But I just know that that's actually why Naruto was kind of more appealing in my style, because I was like, this is actually looking a lot better than what Dragon Ball and One Piece looks like. I like it. So, that being said, I continued to watch Naruto. It went on until when I got a little bit older, I kind of lost interest in it. It wasn't that it was because it was too long or whatever. It's just that a lot of it was filler. It's not that filler really bothered me. I just at that point I was starting to grasp what storylines and plots were, and I was just losing interest in what Naruto's plot was. I remember the exact arc I stopped watching. It was that crystal arc where the woman who can create crystals had to get Kekkei Genkai. And I just remember when that started to happen, I was like, what's with all these characters who we're never going to see again? Because at that point, they kept introducing characters and then dropping them again. So I was just getting really fed up with how many new characters are we going to be introduced to and then have no background on them whatsoever, or never to be seen again. We just have these characters that exist for an arc and then they're never there again. That type of thing is really annoying to me. So I just was like, you know what? It's not worth it to me. I'm just going to go off into a new fandom. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to watch something else. And I did. I got invested into a lot more other anime that were a lot more appealing. Then 2015 happened, and I heard about Boruto. So, I'm thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know how Naruto ended, but I would like to see. If it's got a sequel, it must have done really well. So I, of course, rewatched the ending. I was appalled. I was really devastated. Main reason is that I don't really care for ships. In fact, when I watch most animes, I understand that ships are not what people generally watch them for. I understand that shonen is not geared towards romantic subplots or romance at all. So I already know that a lot of the romance involved in those, they're not really expecting to delve deep into, to expand on. You're not really going to see them set up in a proper way. At least that's what you expected back then, But, so that being the case, you kind of get used to them being piss poor. And therefore, you don't really use that in a standpoint of why you don't like something. At least, not back then. So, when it came to the ending and the romantic subplots were all wrapped up into a neat little bun, and this is pretty much what they presented, and they were like, oh, by the way, Hinata liked Naruto all this time. They're married now. They have a child. Sasuke, despite trying to kill Sakura a couple of times, is now married to her and has a child with her. Things just didn't make any sense. It sounds just as bland as I just explained it. So, it was just very appalling because I didn't understand, and I was wanting to know what I missed. So, of course, I went backwards. I watched all of Naruto again, and I just realized, I was like, none of this really makes up for what I just saw. It still doesn't explain how Naruto and Hinata got together. It doesn't explain how Sakura and Sasuke somehow fell in love. It doesn't explain much of anything. I'm still confused. I'm still really not sure what to think. But, Boruto exists, and I have to acknowledge that. So, I went into it with the full, an open mind. So, the Boruto anime, when it was released, I actually watched it bootlegged. So, since someone recorded it from the theater, because it only released in Japan in 2015 in August. So, I watched it, and I was more so like, it was indifferent to me. I didn't really have any nostalgia attached. It didn't really bother me too much. I just thought it was something for entertainment. I kind of actually thought that was where it was going to end. I was not expecting an animation prior, to the events of the movie to be scripted or to take place. So, but I didn't really have any hard stance, opinions about the actual movie itself. I didn't think it was good, but I didn't think it was bad, enough to be upset about, So, anyway, when I started to watch the anime, at first I was really confused because I of course, these characters, I was still trying to figure out, their background, how their parents came to, become what they were to make these children. And it was sorely disappointing, when I was watching Boruto, when I go into why I don't like it, this is one of the first points why I don't. Actually, let me go into the very first point where most people don't like Boruto off the bat. It's his design. I actually, whenever I watch animes, I actually don't really care for how the character looks in designs phases because it doesn't really bother me. Like, because I also knew that Kishimoto wasn't the one doing Boruto, so I was under the impression that of course the design is going to look different. It's not his art style, so I wasn't really too bothered by that. People ask me why I don't like it. That's actually one of the points I leave out on purpose because it shouldn't be considered to be like a substantial argument. It's not the same author, so of course it's going to look different. So of course, when I saw the design phases of Boruto, my first impression was that, man, these really don't have any real. At first, I didn't realize that Boruto was supposed to be the son of Hinata and Naruto. All I see is Naruto. Like, I mean, if someone told me that this was without context, if someone said, "Yeah, that's Hinata's son," I would have been like, "Where though? Like, like she does not exist in him in any kind of form. Like, he looks like straight up Naruto with just some leaf hair." And that's okay, like I said, I also grew up with Dragon Ball. And so when Gohan was born, he looks somewhat like Goku, but Goten, if you've seen GT and Kai and Z, you would know that Goten looks spitting image of Goku, but that's done on purpose. Like, there's a reason behind that, and it's explained later on. And, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty interesting, but you don't really think of it more than that. And, that's pretty much how I felt with the designing phase. Sorry, there's somebody behind my car, and I was like, what's going on? Anyway, but yeah, that's how I felt about the designs. It's just that they all just kind of felt bland, and it's not that it was really like a bothersome point to me. It just kind of felt like, compared to the Naruto designs, it just felt like they could have put a lot more thought or effort into them, and it just kind of went out the window. So I was sorely disappointed in that aspect. But for the most part, it didn't really bother me. I was just getting into this new anime. Maybe they'll, because Naruto's animation when it first started, it was pretty piss poor too. It looked pretty cheap if you've been around that long. But as like time went on, they started to do better. Of course, the Naruto growing up, but the lines, they cleaned up a little bit, and they just started to look more crispy. And I was just, maybe the Boruto's in the early parts of its animation, and it just looks like this because it just looks like this for now. That's me being open-minded again. So anyway, so yeah, that was problem number one that most people will bring up, that the kids just look ugly and all that, which I also, once again, have to reiterate, it's not a substantial argument. It's a different creator or different author. So that's a given. So point number two is that, as most people will mention that, the one thing that I actually will hound on a lot, because I bring it up a lot of times, is that these kids are, of course, the new generation. So going back to the old generation, Naruto's generation was about starting from nowhere, coming to somewhere, like growing, becoming stronger, becoming better, making a name for themselves, like Sakura, making a name for her whole clan of what they can do and what they can achieve. So that was what Naruto's story was about. As for Boruto's story, it was very evident very early on that these kids were basically handed all these powers and were told, hey, you're really powerful because you're the son of blah, 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 blah. So, or the daughter of blah, 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 blah. So, of course you're going to be this strong. Your parents were. Honestly, because I grew up with Dragon Ball and such, and they also have a next generation, which is the GT or Z and Kai. It didn't really bother me that these kids were as strong as they were at first, because in Dragon Ball, just to use them as an example, Goten and Trunks were born, holy shit, like incredibly powerful. Like, I'm talking like probably on par with Vegeta's power. And Vegeta, is a little bit lower than Goku, but still, they are pretty immensely powerful. They're just kids, so they of course can't control it, and they're playful. But they were powerful. They can do Super Saiyan at the age of 5, 6? And at least, Goten is 5. I think Trunks is 6 at that point. But yeah, Gohan could also achieve it that young, but still, it just was, a clear difference in strength and Saiyan power. Despite Goten and Trunks being Trunks being half, but, Goten was a fourth. Actually, no, that doesn't make any sense. Goten was still half, because Goku was still his dad. Well, still, but they're only half Saiyans. They shouldn't have, I feel like half Saiyans shouldn't be as strong as full Saiyans, but logic, right? You can't think of it that hard. So when it came to like when I was watching Boruto and seeing how strong these kids were, I just kind of applied the same logic, and I told myself that, yeah, okay, maybe it's just the fact that they're all born from these high tier people. I'll excuse it. Okay, that's fine. So, and then I also wanted to excuse it because I wanted to go into the belief that Boruto's story was going to be a story about deconstructing a power system. So pretty much what I mean by that is that, you know how Naruto started off with, you know, creating a power system, like going from nowhere to somewhere. So I wanted to believe with Boruto, it was going to be a story about starting from way up here, and then they realize when they get their asses kicked and they lose and such, that they are actually not as powerful as they think that they are. So I thought it was going to be a story about growth but backwards. And I thought that was going to be super interesting because, yes, like, I love characters that are put into their places, that characters that are just really just egotistical and they think that they know everything. You know, they're handed all these powers and they're given all this potential, and then they get in front of characters who actually train to be good, who grow to become what they are, and they have their asses handed to them. They're basically put back in their place. So I thought Boruto as a whole animation was going to be a story about kids, you know, being the next generation and learning how to actually become great despite being born great. I thought that was a really cool concept, and I wanted to go in believing that. And after about, I want to say about 15, 20 episodes, I realized that I was very wrong about that assumption. And I hated that I was wrong, because that was going to be super interesting. Yes, that was going to be one of my main focal points. Like, I thought they were going to focus on that for these characters, and yet they're just strong to be strong. There's really no explanation behind it. They don't really train as hard. They're in a time of peace. There's really no reason why they are this strong. There's no threat to them, at least not in this time period, like in the current era of the anime. There's no threat to them. So for them to be just as strong as they are, it just kind of made it feel very lackluster. Like, this is just very dull, because these characters can do all this type of shit, and there's no real, like, threat. There's no real reason why they're this strong. And, I know it's really petty, but it really did bother me. But I didn't want to let that hinder me from enjoying the anime. So I kept watching, and I thought, okay, maybe that's not going to be their story. They'll figure out something else to do central with these characters that's going to be unique. So that leads to my next point, is that these characters and their story just started to feel rehashed. So what I mean by, like, rehashed is there are things that are just redone, and they're redone better. Boruto takes the exact same things that Naruto presented and then basically does the exact same thing without any real uniqueness to it, and it just really bothered me. It shouldn't bother me, but it does, because I've already seen Naruto. I've already watched Naruto's story. I've already grown up with Naruto. But why is his son, who I thought was going to be an individual, doing everything that he does? An example being is that, you know how during the Samira arc, the girl with the purple hair, how when she went through her whole thing and turned into like a dark ego shit, Jack and Dexter, sorry, the dark ego thing that she had going on, and then Boruto came through and he rescued everybody and basically took her to that realm and defeated her, or like basically talked no juice with her, and his whole message to her was like, don't be like your father, you're going to be better than this, like all this type of stuff that you would think would come from Naruto. And you know, that's fine. That message is pretty intellectual, you know, always be an individual. I can't stress that enough. It's important to be yourself, yes. But it's just that, isn't this a story about his son? So if he's just going to have his dad's morals and his beliefs, why am I watching his son? You know, like, why am I, like, give me a reason to be invested in this character, to be invested in this generation. Like, if I'm just going to be watching whatever he quotes from his father and just talking it and twisting it around and putting it back out of his ass, I can just watch his father's story. There's no reason for me to sit here and invest in Boruto. If there's nothing, you know, unique about him. So, I excused that. I said, you know, all right, well, it's whatever then. I guess, you know, later on, they'll develop his character more. He'll become more of an individual. He'll start to bleed on me, and I'll understand where he's coming from. 45 to 60 episodes later, I'm still looking at Naruto in kid form. And the thing about it is that I've already seen Naruto in kid form. So to just see him twice like this, it doesn't make any sense. Why do you have a whole anime to be dedicated to just rehashing what your father does? You're supposed to be unique. You're supposed to be an individual. I'm supposed to be wanting to follow you because I'm supposed to want to understand where you come from. Not your father, the person that he supposedly hates. I want to see where you come from. What's about you that I need to be invested in? So as that continues, I was just really disappointed in that. I was disappointed in the fact that there's nothing unique about Boruto as a character. Not in design, not in beliefs. He, even in the manga, he's the exact same way. Actually, in the manga, he's a lot more whiny. I haven't really watched the anime, but I did read the manga for a while, up into the Kawaki episode, or chapter. Like, that was like last year too, like 2018. I did read that chapter, and I just remember thinking that, man, Boruto was really whiny, and it's like in it like unnecessary type of amount of whiny. He's just almost incredibly hard to read because it's like, at some point you kind of get sick of bitching, and he doesn't. In fact, I don't think he ever gets tired of hearing his own tooting his own horn. It's kind of embarrassing. It's like, I mean, I can see how he's Naruto's son on that aspect, though. I mean, doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. But so yeah, but just in the manga, he's a lot more whinier, and I just find it hard to sit back and take any of what he says seriously, because it's not really something that I feel like is an individual message from him. But the bright side of that is that, so despite that being a rehashed type of theme, I was going to excuse it, because if that's actually a theme that they're keeping up with the Naruto realm, that's okay. Like if they want to keep up with, friendships are good, people are not all bad, whatever. If that's the theme of the anime as a whole, Naruto plus Boruto, in conclusion, in one little tight knit, then proud to you. That's a great message. I stand behind it. But the thing is that normally, even like copied morals and such, they have individualism in them somewhere. Like, yes, we can all be friends, but I'm going to hold you accountable for hurting my other friends. Like, you're not going to be excused. You're not going to be talked off no ledge because you fucked up and now you want to commit suicide or something crazy. No, like, you are going to be held accountable. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk to you, but I'm not going to excuse any of your behavior. Like, that's growth to me. That's showing that I'm not just going to sit back and let you be a whole fool out here. You're going to learn today. And that's a great message. I like that. And so, but yeah, no, Boruto is another Naruto. Like, literally just another Naruto. And that's why his anime just kind of really comes down to, it just really bothers me, because there's nothing actually unique about it. And I also hate too that, I guess this can be point number 3, even though I feel like it can be its own little thing. I just really feel embarrassed for the fact that, or really more disappointed, let's just use that word. It's disappointing to me that the characters that they have in this are very forgettable. They're very bland. They're almost, I won't say almost, because they are irrelevant. And they could do so much more. I just really hate that they don't expand on this world. They condense it down to Konoha Village. And there's so much more out there in this Naruto realm. And we didn't even have to start the anime back in Konoha Village. I understand we're following Naruto's son, but why couldn't we have been in like a different village? Like, maybe not even following Naruto's son at that point. A whole nother character, because then you really could do stuff like this and it not feel dismissive of the first generation or the previous anime. When you get into the fields of, like, when you're going to make sequels of things and you rehash a lot of stuff, that type of thing can go off the wall very easily. And I don't know, like, I just think it's embarrassing, it's pathetic, and it's unexcusable how they do this, how they basically made all these characters who they had so much great potential, watered them down to, like, don't even have voices. Or they make them so, like, there's things that these characters fit into. Like, when you watch certain animes, I guess the shonen anime, not shonen, the shoujo anime, like the romance animes, are a good discretion of this, because when you see certain characters, they fit into certain genres. Like, they have certain things about them that makes them who they are, but it's not really like a unique trait. It's just, that's their whole character. Like, that's just it. It's not interesting at all. A lot of characters in Boruto, which shouldn't be like this, fall into that. Like, Chocho, which is the daughter of Kari. Sorry, her name is hard to pronounce at this second. And Choji. She is literally a stereotypical black girl, and I found that really offensive, because at first I really thought they were going to go out the wall with, this is a person of color. Like, we're going to do so much with her. And no, she has daddy issues, and she's fat. I don't mind her being big. Like, okay, good representation. Her clan is bigger boned. But the whole daddy issues thing back in the manga, I think that it's been animated now because that was Sarada's arc. That was embarrassing. That was really racist. Like, what the fucking hell? Like, why the fuck is she worried about who her father is? Why the fucking hell in this ninja world is this girl walking around thinking about that type of shit? Like, does she not know half of them are orphans? Like, what's going on here? Like, is this supposed to be a rom-com? Like, what am I watching? And so that type of thing I didn't want to take serious, but how much they reiterated it to me, I was like, am I supposed to sit here and take this serious? Am I supposed to actually not believe that Choji's her father? Am I supposed to be on the same side as her? Like, what's going on? Am I supposed to be doubting myself that I believe that that's her dad? Like, what the fuck? You know, that type of stuff. That's what I mean. Like, they make these characters into these stereotypes, and they just fit that stereotype, and they're nothing outside of that. And I just find that really sad for the next generation of Naruto, you know, because so many of those characters in Naruto, yes, they were dropped, but they were expanded on. You know, Ino had a whole personality. Hinata, I keep wanting to say Hinata because of Haikyuu, but Hinata, she had a personality that was more prevalent in the first series, like Naruto, as opposed to Shippuden, where she just finally became, like, she's just a shy girl. So that's all she's supposed to be. Tropes, that's what the word is, tropes. So she's just a shy girl. Like, she can't be a shy and confident girl. She can't be a shy and bold girl. She's just the shy girl. And they reduced her to that. And I just found that really pitiful. So I just think that too was another thing that they really messed up in Boruto, is that they could have gone so much further with the whole, this is the new generation. These are characters who we can do so much better. We have learned from our mistakes. We won't do that again. You know, we know what you guys want now. And this ain't it. So that's kind of why, I mean, I'm sitting here now and talking about it, because we need to still be upset. We need to still be angry. We need to let the media know that this is not okay. You're making a whole sequel off of something that people who grew up with nostalgia feelings towards the series is. And, you know, we just feel like you're dismissing us. We feel like you're just stabbing us in the heart because you're just not taking into consideration that none of this feels like it's like from passion. This feels like it's obligatory. You just made the sequel because you got like a lot of money and people just wanted to see Naruto's journey from then on. And that's perfectly fine, but do it right. Don't just half-ass it, because then you get shit like Boruto and people don't want to complain because, oh, you know, but we don't really expect much anyway. Its own successor or its predecessor wasn't that great. You know, they're just wanting money. Be upset. Speak up. Say something, because if you say something and you let them know, somebody someday is going to hear you and they're going to say, you know what, actually that is some pretty shit right there. Let's not do that. Let's actually give the people what they want. Let's give them what they expect. Let's do better than mediocre. You know, like, let's have our audience enjoy each episode, not just waiting for when it's going to get good. When someone who they know from the old series is going to come in and make them feel like, yay, I know what I'm watching. Yay, this is a part of the same thing that I grew up with. No, let's give them a reason to watch our show. Let's make it unique. Let's make Boruto, not Boruto with Naruto Next Generations. Like, that's another thing too. Like, I hate that the series was called Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, because that already makes it seem as it's not unique on its own. Like, it's still connected to Naruto, and then everything in the anime proves that. Like, it is still only about Naruto, and that's fine to pay homage to your predecessor. But you're supposed to be your own series. If I wanted to watch Naruto, I would watch Naruto. I'm watching Boruto for Boruto. Be unique. That's all.